Podcast. Here is your host, Dean Basic.
Hello and welcome to the Hashtag Kangaroos podcast. I'm Dean Vasic, and as always, on a Thursday or Friday this week, I'm joined by Siobhan Rowe. Plenty to get through tonight. We'll review last week's performance at that much-needed win opening up. Look at what's happening behind the scenes at Arden Street with the club reportedly ready to splash the cash, run through team news, rewind to a famous win against the Eagles back in 2021, the Jaden Stevenson coming out game, and of course finish with our prediction. Siobhan, let's start with last week. I messaged you at half-time and said we're going to win the flag. Hard to disagree with that at the moment after that performance.
How good, Dean. I've still got a croaky voice from all the yelling. It was a comprehensive victory and a team orientated victory. And what I loved the most about it was the fact that, yes, there were individual stars and brilliant games across the board, but I think it was summed up really well by Charlie Conlon when he said it was almost like the boys had turned into men, and that's what it felt like. Felt like it was a really mature performance. It was a performance that had it showed that we've got a lot of strength up in that forward line, probably more than I even realised that we are capable of kicking a winning score. And if we bring that defensive mindset as a team and play like that, then we will be capable of beating anyone on the day. I know that you guys spoke about this a lot on Tuesday with Mark, but it certainly is a matter of just backing up now and making sure that we are able to deliver that week in, week out to the best of our ability. And there should be no turning back from here in regards to that being the standard. And certainly in the game, there were times when Port challenged us, but what I loved was the fact that we responded in a way that was emphatic. Really, the second part of the last few minutes of the second quarter, I've never seen a fan base so up and about. It was awesome to be in that sort of environment, and then to have Simkin kick the first of the third, and we looked like we were going to run away with it. And even during times of adversity, when we had the two, which was very rare, the two touch behinds, the team still, rallied and made sure that they weren't going to give Port a sniff. So that was probably the part of the game that I loved the most, was that it was a really dominant win across the board. I thought, yeah, the team mindset was really impressive, and loved the access from the club after the game when they released the footage of Larky addressing the players, his first one as captain. Clarko post the game, just showing that they are running with this mindset of just play your role. That's what it felt like. That there were, yeah, like I mentioned, individual standouts, but it just felt like the whole team was buying into something. We haven't seen that in a really long time from North Melbourne. So, yep, let the good times roll on, Dean, because we bloody deserve it as a fan base. And it was great to be there on Sunday to view that win.
Yeah, they certainly fooled us with the pre-season. Good poker hand. I did not see this coming, and I'm sure you probably didn't, and a number of other supporters. And I even mentioned off air that going into the game, it felt like a bit of a flat crowd, like we were sort of a bit pessimistic and thinking, especially after Port Adelaide kicked the first two goals where he wasted opportunities early, it was like, oh, here we go again. But full credit to the lads. They really rallied. And you probably have to agree with me, Siobhan. I know we've had some good moments in the last couple of years. We've had some good wins against Melbourne in round two. But as far as four-quarter efforts, dominating from the first bounce to pretty much right at the end, I can't remember the last time we did this. Can you?
No, and that's the thing. I know round two last year felt like it was a turning point. Clearly, we still had a lot of work to do, but that was a great win against the D's. But this felt different, and I know, it's a dangerous game, getting ahead of yourself. But with the draw that we have and the games we have coming up, maybe this was the one where it was a win that was needed, especially with the pressure. Surrounding the club after the preseason. But I think they needed to get this one out the way, and things would open up. And you're right. It did. I don't recall a win like that because it was everyone contributing. Like O'Sullivan with his role on Butters and his own individual brilliance. You obviously had individual moments of brilliance, but didn't feel like he was the reason that we won the game, which a lot of the time that does fall on him. And there were so many individual goal kickers and contributors. That's what I love the most about the performance as well. Is that I think now it's almost like they've solidified that if we are able to get enough supply in there and the defense and defensive unit holds up, and that's what I was really concerned about, Dean, is that or the whole talk in the preseason was about this defensive, mindset and mantra that we were implementing, and we didn't see that in the preseason. I personally didn't, and I think you probably agree with me there. So to see that almost take shape was really exciting. You had Chom's game, which was just incredible, and I do think the turning point in that game was his goal that he kicked as well, because that was when he kind of broke the game open in many ways too. So kudos to him and his individual brilliance. But it was overall it showed that we do have enough in there. Kurt shouldn't have his best game, but he had moments. And I think the best teams in the competition exhibit exactly that. They are a system based. One man goes down, another one comes up. I don't think we're quite there yet. I mean, if we lost really our key players, I would imagine that we'd still struggle. But it was certainly felt like the right step in the direction that we have built a foundation now where we have a platform for our players to have a system that they can play off, and it's sort of everyone playing their individual role.
No, definitely. What do you think of? Seemed pretty positive of Luke Parker going back into the back seven. Added a lot of leadership. Obviously added a lot more than that. That's probably underselling it a little bit. His interceptability was quite good on a couple of occasions. It was a good general back there. It might be a way for him to, finish off his career probably the next year or two, just being a general back there and really helping out our young defence grow over the next year.
He was incredible. I don't think that I can say much more about Luke Parker because last year I thought that he had smashed the ceiling, but my goodness gracious me. You hit the nail on the head, Dan. You summed up brilliantly. His leadership, his experience, his toughness, his ability to read the play, set up play. He went at 100% disposal efficiency, and he was just phenomenal in what he does best. But it was in a role that is foreign to him. But I think you can't teach and you can't gain experience like that. That's why he's so important there. And I think clearly we know that that's probably one of the weakest parts on the ground for us. But with him there, it's almost like you trust that the right decision's going to be made and that he's going to be there to sort of steady the ship if need be. And I think it's amazing. Is almost like the midfield was ready to blossom thanks to his not fully, but thanks to partly his guidance in there. That we've seen the likes of O'Sullivan and Sheasel and McKercher and LDU to a certain extent blossom into having it as their domain now to win games from there for us. Partly, I think, because of Parker's wisdom, and hopefully he can impart some of that on the back line and be that steady hand. And I think I was the one that said I wasn't sure about Jack Darling's role in this year and how he would fit in, but I do think also he didn't have the best game, but he had individual moments again where you just go, okay, you can't really teach that. And I think maybe the likes of Trembath, Larky to a certain extent, Curtis have really maybe come on more so than the natural progression due to the experience and wisdom of those guys. So I'm stunned. Whoever decided that was Luke Parker's role this year deserves a real pat on the back because I actually think it's going to be a genius stroke. And he's just an all-round great footballer, isn't he?
No, he hasn't slowed down too much. Even last year, I mean, he was playing a lot of midfield time, probably a lot more than I would have liked. I think he had the second most CBAs last year at the club, which is pretty tough on a 33-year-old who's played 16 years in the system and played predominantly as a midfielder. His body looked a little bit banged up on occasions last year. I think at one stage he was playing with broken ribs there for 4 to 6 weeks, which is full credit to how strong he is. Almost a real shin boner. I would have liked him to be about 2 or 3 years younger, but
yes.
Look, but he's still adding a lot to the club at the moment. What do you think of Finn O'Sullivan almost playing a little bit of a defensive role on Zach Butters, who was good, but without being great, and he's an elite A grade midfielder, is Zach Butters, but kept him down to 23 touches, had minimal impact. With even Connor Rosie didn't do too much. I didn't think of being midfield dominated, but it's not a bad role for him to learn off the best by almost playing a little bit of a defensive role in that midfield, and it adds to LDU and Sheasel, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I think that's also another master stroke. And I don't think we'll see that every week, but I think if there's a clear midfielder that can take the game away from us, which most of the good sides, and even, I mean, not to be disrespectful to Port, but they didn't do anything on the weekend that indicated that they'd be a good side this year or a great side this year. So I can understand when there are players like Butters that can really win you the game. It's not a bad idea that we now have that weapon in O'Sullivan, who I think match Butters really well. They've both got good speed. They're both sort of somewhat a similar type player. And hopefully, Finn can be half as good as Zach Butters. And if he is, then we've got a very good player on our hands there. But it was more his individual game that I liked even more than his negating role on Butters. I love the synergy we've got in the midfield now. I think we've actually got the mix right. There's the feeders, there's the runners, there's the good users, there's the power and strength of LDU. I just think it seems to flow really nicely. And Finn's just a new complement in there. He has really good skills, good footy smarts, all those things he's bringing to the midfield group was really good to watch. And we've now got the luxury, I guess, of rotating McKercher and O'Sullivan through different roles, and same with Sheasel. I mean, hopefully he does remain a full-time midfielder, but there's flexibility now, which is a really good thing to see. And flexibility, not the type of flexibility of, let's stick Cooper Harvey down into the back line, and square peg round hole type situation. Flexibility of, we can use their assets where we need them. That's a really good weapon to have for us this year, and why I think we looked so polished as well.
No, definitely. I think this fifth interchange has come in handy, especially for someone like Jack Darling, who played 60% game time. Probably would have been a lot less than that in the first half, but it almost keeps him fresh for the second half. And he finished off the game really well. I thought his second half was outstanding. Colby McKercher was able to play limited minutes with the fifth sub rule as well, coming back from injury. I think he had 64% game time.
Yep.
Was playing as a centre half forward effectively, especially when we got the clean clearances. He was able to get a couple handballs over the top, which is really handy. So I don't mind this fifth interchange instead of the sub rule, because it gives us options to almost rest players like a Darling for the second half, a McKercher, Lockie Doveston as well. Really came into the game probably a lot more in the second half, had 61% game time. So I think we used the five interchange players pretty well.
I think we did too. I think it was actually a really well coached and well managed game. I think it's not often that you can say that, but I do think that Clarko, I understand you had complete polar opposites in Clarko coaching his what was it, his 300th match?
Oh, it was a lot more. I think it's 450 or something.
I think you're right. I think I've shortchanged him significantly there. But it was a milestone sort of game for him. And then Josh Carr's first game as Port Adelaide coach. But I think there were some really good decisions throughout the game in the coach's box. And I think all players were well managed. And I think going into the season, there were a lot of questions around that, especially with what was going on with Wardlaw. And then obviously with had the team named and he's not there. So again, some interesting decisions when it comes to management of players. But I think you're exactly right. I think it's an underrated rule this year in terms of being able to get the best out of your older players. So yeah, it was a good observation, Dean. I agree.
I think it's he's at 440 games or something like that at the moment.
There you go.
So
changed him a lot.
yeah, about 140 short, but that's all right. I don't think he might. Well, he's at Hawthorn for 20 years, or 16 years, I should say, from 2005 to 2021, and has been in North Melbourne for the last. Well, this is his fourth season, so he's I mean, we might as well talk about Clarkson as well. Now, there's a period in the game where he got quite emotional. It was interesting talking to Mark about it. He said that was happening in the second quarter when we got a little bit of momentum where I think we got some really good centre clearances and kicked a couple of goals with that. It pretty much solidified our midfield dominance in that first half. We had to capitalise on that. I think it was only a goal difference at the time. So, but getting back to Clarkson, it looks like it affected him a lot more. This whole thing that happened with him, when he first came to the club with the racism scandal,
Yeah.
and probably even Fagan as well has probably admitted that. We almost forget that these people are human, and they're not immune to feelings like this. And it's it was obviously a really tough situation, not just for him, but people involved around him, his family, close friends, and people that he probably thought would support him through this, almost turned their back on him. And you had the media pretty much say he was guilty without a trial. So it was a really tough time, wasn't it? I mean, no one would like those accusations, especially if they are false, like they were.
It was really interesting, the timing of the Herald Sun articles and the Age article as well. The day before, the day of, pretty much of the game, and it was an interesting read. I think it's what got lost for me in all of it was that um, he actually didn't have a right of reply, and that's the part that's probably the most disheartening. Is that of course, if anyone accuses you of something, the first thing you want to do, especially if it is not true, you want to say, that's not true. Like I haven't done this, but they weren't actually allowed to do any of that. And you're right. I think the people that he thought may have been there to support him actually did the opposite. Their whole thing was just very, very poorly handled. I think it's just further evidence of the AFL and the way that they do their business, which is quite unfortunate. But going back to sort of the impact it's had on us as a football club, maybe we didn't fully, or I didn't fully comprehend maybe the impact that it was having on him, and it almost has wiped out 2 years of. Sorry, mate, can you hear me
Oh,
again?
I think. Oh, I've lost Siobhan. Are you there, Siobhan? Keep cutting in and out. Are you there, Siobhan?
Dean, you there?
Yep, you're
Yes.
back. Keep
Sorry.
going. So you sort of,
Sorry.
the last thing I got was it cut 2 years out of Clarkson.
Yeah, so I think that the thing that I didn't comprehend maybe is that how much of that time was consumed in his mind, and he wasn't fully present at the club. So effectively, it almost is as if he's somewhat in the earlier part of his tenure to what it shows on paper. So yeah, it's really hard, Dean, to know the true impact. But I think if any of his comments are a reflection of that, I do think that we lost good quality Clarkson time at the football club due to the scandal, and I'm happy that he's now able to have his voice somewhat in the situation. And I think you've got to have even more admiration for Chris Fagan, or I did after reading the article, and how he sort of managed to still win multiple premierships with Brisbane over that time. So, yeah, hopefully all of that is just well and truly behind him now. But I do think watching him almost, or I think he was tearing up in the box at halftime, showed that um, he's doing his best. I do think that we also have maybe not comprehended how poor we were as a football club, and how much time, he said this, it was going to take to actually rebuild the club. And he's obviously invested, and he wants to get the best out of the group. And it's just going to be a matter of when. But you saw on the weekend, it felt like, and we're hopeful that it was a turning point, and maybe he was watching and going, I think it's finally starting to click. My game plan, the maturity in these guys, the list that I'm starting to build, we're finally coming out of the darkness. And I hope that that's maybe what that signified.
Well, we're certainly hoping that we can move forward, and he can move forward as well, and get the best out of this group, and hopefully we can have a lot more success than we've had in the last 10 years. So we'll have to wait and see how the year plays out. But it sounds like the worst is behind him, which is the most important thing. He's trying to move forward with his life. We'll move forward as well here, Siobhan. Now, there's a lot of noise around North being aggressive in that market, and we'll have to wait and see. We've fallen for this before, Siobhan, and we've missed out on some big targets. I guess the biggest one was probably Dustin Martin and Josh Kelly. That's going back about 9 years ago now, and we ended up. I think we missed out the following year on Andrew Gaff, and I think there might have been someone else, but we ended up with Jared Polak, who was a bit of a disappointment, Sean, and I think it was Dom Tyson. We traded for him as well, who was a big disappointment. He was done by the time he got to us. So what do you think about this? Now, there's a lot of talk about Darcy Wilson, who's a promising young outside midfielder at St Kilda, that we may look to splash the cash at him. It's a bit early in the season to be going this hard, but I don't know, Siobhan, do we need to go after these big players from other clubs?
I mean, Darcy Wilson would be a great recruit. I guess he does bring something different. He's an outside player, great skills, good footy brain. He provides all of that. It's always silly season, isn't it, Dean? And we've heard it for so many years. You touched on it there. I mean, we've always had this war chest that we just haven't been able to quite land exactly the biggest names in the competition. But the funny thing is, I think if we actually do have a good year on field, and we show significant improvement as a club, there's no reason why that war chest can't be used on a player, and no disrespect to Darcy Wilson, because he would be a very handy player, but the big fish, I think the tide will start turning and the narrative around the club will start turning, and there's an opportunity there for us to actually land a player of significant ilk. And that's a really exciting thing. It's on the football club to make that happen. I don't exactly know who that is. There are peripheral players that are being named at the moment, but I think if we wanted to progress further as a club, those big names are certainly what is the cherry on top when it comes to winning finals and winning premierships. You saw what Geelong did by bringing in Jeremy Cameron, those sorts of players that are the cream of the crop that become available on the market. Well, hopefully in the next few years, we're in a position to start bringing guys like that into the football club that will help us win flags rather than just be bit players, which I think has been our issue when it's come to our war chest before, which has always seemed to be yield very disappointing results.
Yeah, it's almost been an anticlimax on a few occasions. Unfortunately, Graham King came into the chat and sort of said a decent fullback, centre half forward or centre half back would be handy. We don't need centre half forward. We've got Cooper Trimbath. That's our saviour for the next 10 years. So yeah, but I think the key to go on.
We've always done pretty well through free agency, though, Dean. I think it's overlooked sometimes in that Sean Higgins, Nick Del Santo, Waite, they were all very handy for their time and certainly contributed to the club for where we're at.
No, definitely. No, they definitely did. They played big parts in finals wins, all those individuals, and they got us to prelim finals. So, yeah, I can't disagree with that. We just got to be smart, spend smart, and spend to support the core that you're trying to build, not block it by just getting in fringe players. Like, nothing against Charlie Spargo, but spending money on just getting someone like that, it doesn't achieve much. Yeah. So look, if you feel like you've got a need for a Darcy Wilson, then you go for it. But we've got to also remember how we go this year. Look, if you win, but generally speaking, if you're going to go for a big free agent, it's to when you're close to a premiership or want to take a big step forward and compete for a premiership, and you want to get, all right, we would need a key defender like a Harris Andrews. I mean, that's just an example. All right, let's get him, and he can, when he's 30 years old, and he can support what we're building, rather than actually just, let's just get names for the sake of getting names. And that's what worries me a little bit. I don't if it's Will Thursfield doing it, I'm prepared to back him. But if it's Brady Rawlings saying this, then don't do anything he says. Just do the opposite of what he says. In saying that, we did get a Category B rookie from
Yes.
America, an American basketballer from the college system. Now, we haven't done this for a long time. We haven't looked at this sort of market, but at least we're
Yes.
thinking a little bit outside the box here too, Siobhan.
I don't mind it. It gives Eric Wallace vibes. We got the
Oh yeah. I remember him. Yeah. Yeah.
I actually like it. Dean is obviously going to be a project player, but by the looks of it, he's got a lot of promise, a lot of raw athletic ability. And I think if you look at the way the game's going, we spoke about this. It's definitely going towards more an athletic type tool than a strength, if well, if that makes any type of sense, like a strong body type of tool. So I really like that choice. By the looks of it, he actually has a background with Essendon. Am I barking up the wrong tree here? But I think he's a smart selection, a long term selection to support Sherry and Goj and the other tools that we've got coming through.
Yeah, Lockie Brewer. Yeah, he's a 20-year-old Tasmanian. So I don't know much about him, to be honest with you. 195 centimetres. He's obviously got a basketball background, but he's going to come down at the end of the year for next year. So
Yep.
we'll see. We may, yeah, I don't mind thinking a little bit outside the box. It seems to
No,
work for
no.
our AFLW program, getting all these Gaelic players in,
How's it
and
what?
some of them turned out pretty. Yeah, some of them have turned out pretty well, and yeah, I mean, it's throwing a dart at a dartboard, but we did that and trying to hit the bullseye. But we did that with Cooper Trenbath, and that's worked out pretty well. So yeah, I don't actually mind that sort of thinking outside the box, and it doesn't cost you anything either.
No.
Category B players don't count on your list. So yeah, you can just keep him in the system and find a Mason Cox or something like that. So
Yeah.
we'll wait and see. We'll go to some team news and not much to talk about here, Siobhan.
Yes. Why change a winning formula,
Um,
Dean? That's what they say,
there's
don't
no
they?
team news. Same emergencies as last week. And full credit to these players. They deserve that opportunity again. There doesn't need to be any changes systematically or anything like that. They deserve another opportunity to go up to Perth. There were a few players to come back from injury, but obviously the VFL with this stupid fixturing have decided to give us a bye for round one. In what space does that make
Very
sense?
silly.
It's almost like an opening round for VFL. So George Warlaw unfortunately won't come up. Riley Hardiman was declared fit. He will not come up either. Charlie Spargo is cleared of concussion protocols. We'll play some VFL games when there's an opportunity to do that, so he'll play next week. But my thinking was with Mark the other day, there's no need to rush George Wardlaw now, is there? Like, especially if your team's played as well as last week. You may as well just give him that extra week. You don't want him to go up to Perth on a dodgy hamstring.
Mm.
Flying for a few, 3 or 4 hours on a plane. So yeah, I don't actually mind just giving another week. There's no rush.
Oh, Dean, I agree with you 100%. I think it would have been the wrong decision to bring him to Perth for exactly all the reasons that you said. And also, why change a winning formula in many ways too? And this is in no way, shape, or form disrespectful towards West Coast because this could come back and bite me in the ass pretty good. But I also think that it's a game where I think it would be silly to risk George because it's a game that the team that we rolled out against Port Adelaide should be able to get the job done against West Coast. I understand it's in Perth on their home deck, but it's our home deck as well, really, if you want to play that sort of game too. So I think that they've done this well. It was the game against Essendon will be a really good litmus test for us, and why not let him stay in Melbourne, roll him out against the Dons, and get him right for another week. So They made the right call there, and I'm not surprised to see no changes in the team. I think underestimate West Coast at your peril. They had a great second half against the Gold Coast, and it could have ended up, a very poor result for them. But they had a bit of a fight back there. So I don't want to ever get cocky because obviously we've been down in the doldrums for such a long period of time. But I think this team that played against Port should be presenting us with the same result.
Is there anyone from that team that you think could have gone out this week and someone could have come in? I know Zach Banch was best on ground in the VFL last week. Ed Costanti, I think he had the least time on ground last week, 59%. Didn't even know he was playing there for periods. He went missing there, but I think he played a bit of a defensive role like he does. But look, I couldn't think of anyone to come out of the team. So would you have considered anyone to come in?
Yeah, exactly what you just said there, Dean. So obviously I'm not ringing the bell for Jacob Constanti, which I understand he's a role player, but at the same time, when you're a small forward, you're not kicking any goals, you're a liability. So when you look at what Bench has done, I think if he continues that form and Constanti continues his form, it's a matter of time before Bench comes in. I totally don't want to disrespect the role of a defensive forward, but at the same time, he needs to be doing more. We all had the same opinion on Kane Turner. He ended up not at the football club anymore. So I think Constanti needs to start contributing more on the scoreboard because that's his role in the team in many ways too, is to hit the scoreboard. Now, I understand I've contradicted myself because at the start of this podcast, I said it was great to see everyone playing their role. But at the same time, there needs to be more of an output rather than what Finn O'Sullivan did so well, strike the balance between tagging Butters and having his own influence. I don't think Constanti is getting any of that balance right at the moment. So it's a hot spot in the forward line at the moment too, Dean. I tell you, I know I'm biased here, but I actually think it's one of the most dangerous going around at the moment. So there's a lot of pressure for spots there, and it's an interesting one. I also still am very high on playing Will Dawson. I understand the reasoning why they may not be doing that at the moment, but I think West Coast don't have a lot of tall options. They have Waterman and a few others floating down there, but I just think against again, not to be disrespectful, the lesser sides would be a great opportunity for Will Dawson to get a go at maybe playing on a Jake Waterman because he's supported by all the other defenders there. I think Tom will be allowed to also do what he did against Port this week, which is play that looser role rather than man on man, where I think he struggles a little bit. So I thought, might be an opportunity, but then no one really deserved to lose their spot. I think Toby Pink didn't. There's arguments as to why that would have been unfair too.
Oh, definitely. Will Dawson hasn't really been given an opportunity even in the pre-season. So, obviously they still think there's a lot of work that needs to be developed there. And they're pretty happy with Pink, Logue and Combin as your three tools. So, we'll have to see. Now, Jack Crow, I'm not so sure if that's Jack Crosley. I used to play cricket with him years ago, so you'll have to let me know. But he came in the chat and he said, did you hear the club have hired a specialist running coach to train Wardlaw how to run and protect his hamstrings? Yeah, I did see they did get someone in,
yes.
an Olympic, I don't know if he was a medalist or anything like that, but I did hear, and a couple of people did come in the chat saying that they did get someone in to
You're the first person I thought of, Dean. I thought immediately they've been listening to #Kangaroos. They've heard you.
Well, it's better late than never. Look, I've been concerned about it for a while, just the way he runs. So, and that needs a lot of work. And I'm not a specialist, but even, and no one has to be a specialist to see that he runs differently to a lot of other people. And it does put a lot of pressure on his tendons, the way he sort of hunches over. It doesn't look relaxed. Even when he hits the ground, it's really hard. So, it seems to hit his heel a lot, which probably puts a lot of pressure on his hamstrings, calves, and all that. And it's one of those things that if they didn't sort this problem out and just turned a blind eye to it, Siobhan, to me, it looked like it was just going to keep happening. And you can't sort of sit there and say, that since he was 16, 17, has had massive hamstring problems that you can sort of sit there and say, oh, well, no, it'll sort itself out without doing anything about it.
No, you're absolutely right. I think they've he's a footballer right now, and I hate to be dramatic, but he's on the edge. He's hanging off the edge a little bit in terms of where his career could go. It could be a flash in the pan, experience with George Wardlaw, or it could be a 250 game player for North Melbourne. So it's very much at that point where there needs to be work done and work done now. The part that worries me is this is the recurrent hamstrings that he's had since he was playing in the under 18s for Oakley. So it's a it's a known issue. It's a repeat issue. It's a chronic issue. But I also am concerned when it comes to his concussions as well, because that's the issue he's had when he's joined the AFL. So I think there is a bit to work on with him in terms of, like you mentioned, the styles that he has as a footballer. But you also can't breed out some of those things that are just part of his game. And that's the part where I just think he's going to be one of those players where it's going to be heart and mouth sort of stuff with him, watching him out on the footy field, because I just think, he's going to be someone that needs good management to get the best out of him. So that's up to the staff, and that this is going to be where they earn their paycheck, really, because he's a star. We know that, but it's a matter of getting him on the park consistently and making sure for a long time too.
No, and we're like you said, we're not questioning his talent. The talent is obviously there, but there's a lot to work with. His running style and even the way he tackles, it leans too much with his head, and that's why he's got concussions before. That hits the wrong spots. It goes to his head. A shoulder goes to his head. There's another concussion. And he's probably one or two concussions away from, all right, that's it. He's going to have to retire now. And that's always a concern, and that needs a lot of work and as well. So, look, there's obviously talent there, but he needs a lot of coaching and technique as far as little things like that, tackling. And I know Clarkson has been a bit blasé with it in the past as well, sort of saying, "Oh, that's who Wardlaw is." But it can't just be like that. You got to work with these players as well and teach them, and basically teach them the right techniques on how to tackle, going with the shoulder, the head to the side. Go around the hips, not trying to go chest first or anything like that. So there's a lot to work with. And look, if we can get the best out of him, he makes the club a lot better. I know we're talking about Fino, so I'll use Sheasel, but to have Wardlaw in there at his best as well, a four-pronged midfielder of that, it will definitely add a lot of value to the club. And you pretty much set your midfield for the next 10 years, Siobhan, as well, if he can get himself fit.
No, definitely. And he's probably the one ingredient that's missing is that real Ben Cunnington type. Like, he's that grunt player that we are lacking a little bit at the moment. So no, you're right. I think it's a formidable midfield if he can get himself up and going and be a consistent player in there for us.
Definitely. Now let's go back to Flashback Friday, North versus Eagles. So I've gone back only 4 years, probably one of our most historic wins in probably the last 10, 15 years. It was one of the biggest upsets of the 2021 seasons, knocking off West Coast. They were going for a top four spot, Siobhan. Knocked them off by 10 points in slippery conditions. The West Coast controlled the inside 50 count, so I think it was like 15 more inside 50s, but had kicked 2 goals 10 by half time. We stayed within striking distance, and the conditions suited our pressure-based approach. Like, Ben Cunnington was fantastic, and we were able to get a bit of a lead in the third quarter. West Coast kicked 4 goals in the first 5 minutes of the last, and we thought, oh, here we go. We're all done. But then we rallied. I think we were about 10 points down. Ben Cunnington and Jaden Stevenson kicked some crucial goals. Jaden Stevenson handballed the ones of Ben Cunnington. He was everywhere that game. It was unbelievable. Todd Goldstein took a nice mark and goal in the 9 minutes that sealed the win. But standout performances: Ben Cunnington, 25 disposals, 13 contested possessions, a big clutch final quarter goal. Boy, I'll miss him. Nick Larkey, 3 goals. Cameron Zerha, 2 goals, 6. And Todd Goldstein, 31 hitouts. Broke the all-time VFL, AFL hitout record during the match and kicked 2 goals, including the last crucial one. But the big standout performance, best on ground, you know who it was, Siobhan.
Jaden Stevenson.
Yeah, the Coburg protege, 38 disposals and a vital late goal.
That was
best on
unbelievable.
ground. Yeah, it was a big goal. Like, it was a good kick. But it was a bit of a Billy Ray Cyrus for Jaden Stevenson. It was a one-hit wonder, Siobhan, after that. We never saw him again, did we, really?
No, and that's
Nothing like
the
that.
wild thing, isn't it? Is that yeah, talk about a flash in the pan sort of player. My goodness, and I actually do think he was very unlucky not to get on Port Adelaide's list after the performances he put in, but not to be for Jaden, who I think's playing up at Ferntree Gully.
He did. Is he playing there? He's playing at Coburg this year. He's gone to the VFL.
Yep.
Yeah, but he played Ferntree Gully last year, dominated as you expect. But I don't know. He's a bit of a unique fit, isn't he? Like, his best football was at Collingwood when he was playing full forward in his first couple of years. He's a bit too skinny and small for the midfield, and I think he lost a couple of yards when he had that motorcycle accident.
Yes, and putting him in the back line was an absolute disaster on our part. Definitely, that was definitely not his favourite position. I can put that forward for you.
He actually won me money because I put a bet on for him for over 24 possessions because I knew he'd take the kickouts. We got smashed. Okay, we were playing for nothing. And he took about 10 kickouts, and he all played on them. He got 25 possessions. I think I ended up winning about $60 or something like that. So, yeah, so I was pretty happy with him. He probably put money on himself, knowing him. But, that was the big Jaden Stevenson game, and unfortunately didn't come through after that. So let's go to predictions, Siobhan. Now, you expect an effort like last week, or do we go back to last year where we sort of fall apart whenever we won a game?
Oh, Dean, this is I loved Adam Simpson's comments yesterday, basically labeling that this is our biggest game in 10 years, which I actually somewhat agree with him because it's very easy to have one win and get complacent in AFL football. Not that we've definitely have not earned the right to do that, but it's a funny thing when the pressure's on and when the valve gets released, funny things can happen. And especially because, again, no disrespect to West Coast, it's against a team that we're expected to win. And it's almost as if no one's even giving West Coast a chance. It is on their home deck. They're not completely hopeless. They've still got enough in there. I saw Tim Kelly's back for them, and they've got a talent in there, not so much established talent anymore, but Reed's a dangerous player. Waterman's a dangerous player. That Dersma, he's a new kid on the block that's got a bit of swagger about him and a lot to like. So I think it would be silly to go into the game automatically assuming we're going to win. Don't forget when we played West Coast last year, it was one of the worst games of football I've ever seen. We managed to get the job done in the end, but we left our run very late and clinched it with some Zerha brilliance. But we don't want to play like that. We want to come out exactly the way we did against Port, have the same principles in terms of that team first approach, playing your role approach. I think this is a game which will allow for some individual brilliance just due to West Coast deficiencies. But in the same breath, we'd want to come out with a bit of fire because they, like I mentioned earlier in the pod, they finished the game against Gold Coast relatively well for where Gold Coast are at and where West Coast are at. We want to start well, shut the crowd out. I'll be honest, I do expect us to win the game. I expect us to win the game well, maybe a 6 to 7 goal win. That should be their expectation internally as well. But yeah, it is something in the back of my head just tells me it's not going to pan out that way.
No, they've got a lot of kids coming through. Their senior blokes really let them down. They've almost, I don't know what's happened to their careers, but some of them are premiership players. Like you talk about Tim Kelly came to the club, highly touted, never been the same player. A couple of those defenders as well, Tom Cole, Duggan, they've been pretty average the last couple of years. That's where they're really getting let down. Because I think their kids need a little bit of leadership.
Yep.
Harley Reid is probably not turning into the player that he would like to be. I mean, it can change pretty quick. He's shown glimpses of his talent, but he needs a lot of more support, and he needs support from players like Tim Kelly as well, who's been really disappointing. He's I think Tim Kelly's 32 years old as
Yep.
well. And he's struggling to get a game at a bottom team. It's not good enough for his talent. So, yeah, I mean, we generally even though we've been this bad for the last 5 to 6, 7 years, we play Western Australia grounds pretty well,
Yep.
Sean. So that gives me
Yep.
cause for optimism. We can get a good win, like you said. So I'm actually looking forward to it.
Oh, absolutely. So am I as well. I think it is a real opportunity to get a win and a good win. And we've traditionally played pretty well at Optus Stadium. Don't forget, Dean, it is our home ground as well. So it's a neutral territory for us. But I do like some of the matchups that are available. I think, like I mentioned, what was stood out so much for me that performance last week was the amount of forward options, and I think West Coast defence is quite brittle, and I think our midfield should be standing up and winning quite a bit of the ball. So that will allow us to obviously kick a very nice score. I think it will probably be one of our highest of the year. And I think if the defence can hold up against Waterman, who's probably one of their only real forward options down there, then we're looking at a pretty comfortable victory. And that's really exciting to say because we're going to be starting the year 2-0, Dean. So and the prospect of that should be enough for the players to get really excited.
Yeah, Alistair Clarkson talk about backing it up this week with another good effort. So they do have a couple key forwards, young, promising ones. Cooper Duff Tyler
Yep.
looks like he's going to be an absolute weapon. They got the Reed kid,
Archer
nice
Reed,
tall.
yep.
Yeah, nice tall kid. It looks okay, but he needs a bit of help too. So they've got a lot of young kids in that forward line. But yeah, I think midfield is where we should dominate again. I'm looking forward to Harley Reid versus Harry Sheasel, that matchup. So, yeah, that'll be a good one. But we've got a lot of other weapons in that midfield too. LDU, if he can break loose. Tristan Sherry going up against Flynn. Flynn's not a bad ruckman. He's okay. He shows a little bit. But, when he goes up against Cooper Duff Tyler, he might bull him in there. A lot of positives in this game and potential positives
Yep.
in regards that we can dominate some matchups when we go against them. So you're thinking around 6 goals. Who might be a potential match winner for you?
Oh, I like this question. I'll go the Zerha again. I think his performance against West Coast last year, and oh god, I seriously wish I could have ripped my eyeballs out during that game. But we got the win, and it was a joyous occasion for us. But I think Zerha's the jack in the box. I thought he had an almost game against Port Adelaide, kicked a few, but left a few out there, and I think he's ready to fire. What I love about the forward line is there's so many threats, and I think they all contributed against Port. But I think it's going to be his day and a big day at that.
No, I like it. I like Zer. He actually
What about you, Dean?
potential match winner. I'll go Jai Simpkin on the wing. I think at the open space.
Yep.
I think Dylan Stevens will have another good game too. With the open space out on the Western Australian ovals, he will. I think he will get a lot of the ball. I'm expecting like 30 plus touches
Wow.
from either him or Stevens. And I actually like him on the wing, Simpkin.
Yep.
I don't know why he's so obsessed with trying to go into midfield when I think his best position is the wing. So,
Yep.
but each to their own. He's moved on, and he seems. Just on that, he seemed a lot. I don't know. Like I had a good view of him, and I watched him a fair bit last
Yep.
week. I thought his body language was quite good. He seems to be not feeling the pressure. And he seems to have just really enjoyed his football last week and not having that pressure of and the expectation of trying to lift the team up when we're in the doldrums, 6, 7 goals down,
Yeah,
trying too hard. He seemed a lot more relaxed.
agree with that. And I think I've been very harsh on Jai Simpkin, and I'm still not fully warmed yet to him after obviously the off season trade request. But I think maybe I and some other supporters have underestimated how bloody hard it probably would have been to be the leader and face of the football club
Yeah.
during some of our worst times. And you're right. I think he does bleed blue and white. I do think he cares about the club, and maybe sometimes in on-field performances too much. He tried to do too much. I think that's lucky. Um, I'm only speaking for the one game, but um, as a key forward, you can have moments where you kick a goal, you inspire the team. As a mid, and also when he was struggling to find his position on the ground, it's harder to probably stamp your authority in a struggling side playing there. So yeah, I do agree with that. I think he did look a lot freer, and hopefully it'll allow him to find his best form because we need it. We need him at his best to continue to climb up the ladder.
No, definitely. And yeah, I think this is the year that we could see the best of Jai Simpkin, and we're certainly hoping. He's still only 27, so he's still a young kid with his best football potentially in front of him if he wants it bad enough. A potential breakout player. I know last week was probably a Tom Blameyer's game, but maybe someone else that's not a little bit under the radar that might have a big game.
How bloody good was Blamires? Just very quickly.
He looks all
He
right. Will
oof,
Thursfield.
he looks unbelievable. He looks genuinely unbelievable. Um, this is a really tough one. I'll go something semi obvious, but I think Dovinson can certainly build on the
That's what I was
game that
thinking.
he had on the weekend. I think Mark and yourself were speaking about it. He looked a little bit deer in headlights in the first half, which happens, especially playing probably one of the hardest spots on the ground, small forward, in the side. And but I loved the way that he worked his way into the game, got his hands on the pill a bit more, and I think the more he gets his hands on the ball, the more it'll lead to good things. So he'll build on his first game, and I think he'll have a much better showing and kick his first goal in blue and white.
No, yeah, that's who I was thinking. So I'm going to go someone different. But yeah, I think he's got the
Sorry, Deb.
potential to kick 3 goals. No, that's all right. Yeah, I think he's got the potential to kick 3 goals. He's got the nerves out of the system after his first game. So I think his second game, we'll see the best of him, or close to the best of him. He's still got the whole year and the rest of his career. I'm going to go Dersma as my other
Yep.
one. I think he's got potential to kick 4 goals this week. I don't think there's a great matchup for him, and he's just got that potential where he's going to break a game open. This week,
Yep.
if he gets 70-75% time on ground
Yep.
and we're dominating that midfield, he's got a good set of hands. He wouldn't mind showing his brother, who they keep raving on about, that he's the most talented Dersma. So I'm going to go something a little bit left field there, but we'll have to wait and see.
I like it, Dean. I like it a lot.
Yes, we'll have to wait and see. But good opportunity just to finish up here, Siobhan. We could get to the top of the ladder if we have a good percentage boosting win, Siobhan.
Oh, it's I love it. I love it. I made some jokes. Blow the siren on the season because we're in the top four. That's how it felt. It's been so bloody long since I've seen the North Melbourne name up in the top four. It's good to see, really good to see, and I do think that it is a great opportunity to have a win, and not only a win, a big win, and then that'll just set us up beautifully for the next two games. Not looking too far ahead, but I think another win will just do the confidence of the group so much too. I hate to think of the opposite, and I don't think it'll happen, but I think it does present a wonderful opportunity for the footy club. So roll on the good times, I say, and I think we'll see another win.
Yeah, I think so as well. Yeah, I'll go similar to you, 6, 7 goals. Yeah, I'm actually for the first time in about 10 years, I'm pretty confident we can get a good result.
Yep.
But I've been wrong before, Siobhan. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see.
I think it's
Uh,
definitely about the mindset of the players, Dean. It really
yeah,
it comes down to that, and I think obviously Clarkson's first year we had the two wins to start the year, but it's been a bloody long time since we had a two wins to start the year since that time. So yeah, it's about how they come out. I think we'll know a lot the first 10 minutes of the game.
No, definitely. Yeah, and we've got an opportunity next week against Essendon as well. So, yeah, it's not like we're going against a juggernaut next week. So it's good. Yeah, I mean, we talked about the first 6 rounds. We've talked about it to death in the preseason, how important it is. So, got a good opportunity to really build something after that first week. And the first week, and outside of the Brisbane game we got in the gather round, were probably the games where I thought, we're probably, I'm not too optimistic. So, to get, I thought last week was a bit of a bonus, especially getting a convincing win. So, hopefully, we got Essendon, Richmond, and obviously West Coast. So, a good chance to go at least 4-2 in the first 6 weeks. So, we'll get through this week and go from there. But, Siobhan, we've gone through a lot. Did you want to add anything else before I let you go and enjoy your weekend?
Oh, it's just nice to come on here and be really positive and actually feel confident for the first time in a long time that we'll win. I mean, you and I were of the same sort of opinion that, yes, we could have got the job done against Port, but it's, 50-50, a bit tentative, where this week it does feel like, if we are a serious football side, which I hope, and we've turned that corner, that we come out, we perform well, and then it just builds the trust to you. Like you go, shit, maybe this is our time. So it's an exciting thing to feel confident and proud and happy in the group. So may that long continue, and hopefully we come away and we're sitting here again in a week's time and we have the opportunity to go 3-0. So eyes glued to the screens of Fox Footy on Sunday for another North victory, we hope.
Yeah, well, very late Sunday night too, 6:10 p.m.
Yes, I'll be in bed.
Well, I'm not far away, so yeah. So we'll wait for that. We've got to wait all weekend for our game, which is a bit disappointing. But hopefully it'll finish our weekend pretty well, and we can go into Monday and to work and have a good Monday. But Siobhan, always a pleasure. Great insights as always. We'll see you next week.
Same to you, Dean. It's always great to chat footy with you, and see you next week. And hopefully we're still grinning.
Definitely, hopefully. Like, subscribe, leave a comment for this show. Be back either Monday or Tuesday to review the game. That's it from me and Siobhan. Bye for now.